Hello, good afternoon. Late afternoon, almost evening. It is June 5th. And I am back with another true crime case. There's two cases this time. I am up for early access for Patreon and Spotify premium subscribers. And the podcast or the episode will drop on the podcast for everyone on Friday, June 7th. If I remember to get it on there. Last weekend we had big time with, we had a visitation on Friday, funeral on Saturday. It completely slipped my mind. I did laundry all day Friday before the visitation so I can get that done. So I didn't have to worry about it over the weekend. And I completely forgot. So I apologize for that. I did end up putting it on there on Sunday. It is extremely hot. I do have my fan on. It's my Dyson fan. And I don't know if you could hear it. I'm sorry if you can hear it, but I am really burning up. I am drinking Java Mama Iced Dreams iced tea. I might be emptying this by the end of the episode. It is iced tea with a touch of cream, and it is very good. I just think I need to have it a little bit stronger. So next time I'm going to take a different step with my carafe and don't use the internal filter. Because what I think I did is it double filtered it. It worked fine before with other teas and especially coffee. It works good. I had it brewing for 12 hours in the fridge. So I think what I'm going to do is just throw the pot in the cold water. Because that's really what you're supposed to do. And skip the internal filter with this next time. But it is so good and so refreshing, let me tell you. It is like in the 80s. It's hot. It's hot outside. I am hot. Hot flashing horribly. So I'm going to get going on this on this episode. My sources are DesMoinesRegister.com, Medium.com, and IowaColdCases.org. And this is the first case I have for you. April 13th of 1984, Drakesville, Iowa. Now, this is a town of 200 people, population, and it is on the Missouri border. So it's down in the southern part of Iowa. There was a trailer on fire. Firefighters came to extinguish it, which they did, but it was already a loss. The trailer burned down, but they found a body inside. The person they found did not die from the fire. Police investigated and found that he had been bludgeoned to death. He was identified as 20-year-old Justin Hook. And they tried to contact Justin's mother, Sarah, but she was missing. They couldn't find her. Now, not long after this, 15 miles northeast of Drakesville, close to Eldon, which is a town, Sarah Link's body, she was 41 years old, this is Justin's mother, was found by a farmer on his property in a wooded area. 2 days later, April 16th, about a half mile away, they found another body. Police dogs were the ones that found this one. The body was in a ravine, and she was Tina Lade, who was 19 years old and Justin Hook's fiance. Justin had a 2-year-old son and shared his birthday with Tina. They had just gotten engaged. All three of these people had been bludgeoned in the head. So they died of blows to the head. There was no murder weapon ever found. Now, they did find footprints by Sarah's and Tina's bodies, and the footprints were similar. Now, no arrest was made. They couldn't find out who did this. I don't know exactly how well they went into the investigation, because at this time, this was back when DNA was not as advanced, and they really couldn't find anybody linked to this family's murder. Nobody they could find would ever want to do this to them. Now, DNA evidence, like it was resubmitted for analysis analysis. Now, I said it went cold for 28 years. They resubmitted the DNA evidence after a case review from the DCI cold case unit. And I wrote that down, what that stood for. That was, I'll go back to this at the end. Okay, the DNA was from inside of Tina's jeans. That was the fiance, the 19-year-old girl. And they found a match. But they had to go back over the entire case and re-interview everyone to find out if this person was responsible. It's not just open a case. Oh, DNA matches, arrest the person. No, they have to go through and do a whole new investigation. So they treat it like a new case. They find out the perpetrator who matched the DNA, his name was Andrew Six. He was actually a suspect in 1984 when it happened. Now, he was in a dispute with Justin Hook over a used car sale. He sold Justin the car and didn't get paid, it sounded like, or he didn't get enough payment. But he refused to be re-interviewed for this case. When they were going around to re-interview, he refused to do it. He was already in prison at this time for another murder. So, in Missouri, he and his uncle, Donald Petary, Petary, went to the home of the Allen family and asked about a used truck they wanted to buy. Okay, all along, their plan wasn't to buy a used truck. It was to rob them. Maybe, my guess is maybe steal the truck, I don't know. And rape their oldest daughter. Now, their oldest daughter was 12 years old. And this is what they went there to do. She was 12 years old. And one source said she was pregnant, that she was a pregnant teen. Now, so I'm not sure if she was 12 or she was 13. Now, I'm not sure. That was one of the sources that I read that said she was a pregnant teen. So, depending on the source, Andrew Six raped her and cut her throat. After their arrest the following day, the uncle took the police to her body, which was found in a ditch 20 miles south of the Iowa border. And the uncle died in 1998 while he was waiting to be executed because they were put to death. They were sentenced to death. But while the uncle was waiting in 1998, he died. Andrew Six was already executed by lethal injection in August of 1997 in Missouri for the murder of Kathy Allen, the 12-year-old girl. So he already died before they solved the case of... Well, they solved it, but he didn't want to be re-interviewed. So he didn't basically pay for that. Because the thing that got me was, it was 1984 and it said it went cold for 28 years. Now, if you do the math on that, if he was executed, let me see, when did I say he was executed? In 1997. So, I don't understand the math in this, because for my sources, that's only 13 years, if you do the math. And it said it went cold for 28 years. But I guess we're saying it went cold because he was not arrested for it. He was just a suspect. So I'm thinking that's what that is. Now, DCI is the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. They are committed to solving Iowa's cold cases and will continue the work it takes to find the people responsible for the victims and their families. So again, I'm not sure on the math. If it's 28 years, that would be 1984. It'd be 2008. And I've got that he was executed in August of 1997. So unless they just 28 years are saying it went cold, and then they just named him as the murderer at that time. So he was never convicted, and he was executed anyway. But that's what happened in that one, which I looked up all these sources thinking I could find out more about the investigation and how it was done. But the second one I have for you, now I'm doing both of these in one episode because number one, they're not very long, but also they are similar on how they end up. So I'm just going to say that. The investigation is very, very similar. Okay. This one takes place in Kansas City, Missouri. So we're talking about maybe, I don't know if it's the same neck of the woods, but it's around the same area of the Midwest. This one is about a young girl named Fawn Cox. I've got arrows all over my, because I've got it out of order and I've got arrows pointing to what to do first, what to do second. She was 16 years old. She just got her driver's permit on July 22nd, 1989. She got her driver's permit. If everybody knows what that is, I'm sure. Your driver's permit, you got to drive with an adult in the car before you get your license. She was a fan of singer Amy Grant and went to church regularly. Now, her family, they were big, they went to church regularly. Her mom, Beverly, picked her up from her job. Now, this was July 25th, 1989. Now, this is only 3 days she's had her driver's permit. And she went to pick her up from her job at the Worlds of Fun amusement park by her mother, Beverly. And they got home around 11 o'clock p.m. The house was East 9th Street and Van Brunt Boulevard in Kansas City, Missouri. Oh, sorry. My sources, are cbsnews.com, Mamania, MAMANIA.com.au, and the wonderful YouTube podcast, YouTube channel, Lamont at Large. He's right outside the house in the area, and he does his episodes in person in the areas he's in. So look him up because he's a good one. I know I've talked about him before. Now, Fawn had two younger sisters, Amber and Felisa, and it was so hot that night that her sisters didn't sleep upstairs with Fawn. They usually did, and I know heat rises, and it's a lot hotter upstairs, which is where I'm at. So anyway, she was alone on the second story. It was a second story home, and she was alone that night. Somehow someone got into the second story through a window. Investigators, I have a photo of this, which I'll put in my photo dump. There was a pickup truck parked right outside underneath that second story, and they think that the murderer climbed up from that truck to get inside the window, because that was the only way they could have done it, unless they used a ladder, which they didn't find a ladder in that area. Oh, drink break. Just a second. I had to. Okay. So, during the investigation, they found that she had been raped and strangled. Now, nobody heard anything that night, but the family dog was getting very agitated. But the dog was pregnant, so the family just assumed that was her problem. They heard nothing. Now, they had a window unit. Now, window units, of course, back then, some people had central air, but before central air, or if you had a house that didn't have it, you had to have an air conditioner in the window, and those window units can be very loud. And that's one of the big reasons they didn't hear anything upstairs. 9:30 the next morning, her alarm kept going off for her to get up for work. And Beverly and Felisa went to check on her because the alarm kept going off. And Felisa shook her to wake up, but she had been deceased for hours. Now, the following month, 3 teens were arrested for this. One spent 8 months in jail after being indicted by a grand jury for murder, rape, and sodomy. But the DNA didn't put him at the crime. Again, same as my first story, DNA was not near as advanced as it is today. So I don't know what kind of DNA they were, I'm not sure exactly how they were just testing the DNA. I know that there was they saved a blood sample from this murder scene. And anyway, the one teenager that was arrested was released because the charges were dropped against all three because they couldn't pin him to the crime. There was no solid proof of anything, that he was there. There was the DNA, nothing. Now, the family raised money to help with the investigation and put billboards up about this. Fawn's church bus driver even helped raise money himself and investigated the case for 20 years. No match came from the DNA database, and the case went cold for 30 years. No matches at all from anybody. 30 years. In 2019, the family and friends of Fawn Cox put her face on a billboard with the words, "Do you know who killed me?" and a $10,000 reward for any tips leading to who did it. And I'll have that in my photo dump as well. And I'll have that on my Facebook page, in Patreon, and my Instagram. So Amber took to the internet and the local TV station Fox 4 News in the area. Now, Amber's one of the sisters. She got so overwhelmed, she ended up in the hospital. She was so obsessed with this case of finding who killed her sister. And, oh my gosh, that has to be terrible. It just, the FBI funded the genetic genealogy testing to find Fawn's killer. Genetic genealogy, one of the greatest things we have, I think. November 11th, 2019, police finally got their results. They found out that Fawn's killer was Donald Cox Jr., her cousin. Okay, this is what I hate. Unfortunately, he died in 2006 from a drug overdose. May 30th, 2006. I looked up his obituary and I just wanted to throw up. Talking about how wonderful and a kind person he was. Of course, now, okay, the obituary was done. He died before they knew any of this happened. So I get that, but you read the obituary, it's like, come on. I mean, that was just my first reaction. I thought, oh my gosh, what are they saying these nice things for when he did this to this poor girl? But, and her cousin, or his cousin, related to her. I did the story similar to this that happened not long after this in Princeton, Illinois. And I have that also way back at the beginning of my podcast, Christy Doyle, which is a very good case. That was one I think got forgotten after a while, after it was talked about, but so sad. The family said for a while they wondered if Donald was the killer, if Donald did do it. The family did wonder about him already. Of course, they didn't know. And... but the family they're sad but relieved that her case is now solved. I don't think they still live in the house. If you go to Lamont at Large and look up this case, it's highly recommended that you look it up because he's right there by the house, at the house, you know. My photo dump it shows that the guy got into the window in the back. Like, okay, I'm glad it's solved, but it just sucks that this happens. He never paid for that crime. Same as in my first one. Even though that guy was in jail and executed. But Donald Cox Jr. did not pay for what he did to his 16-year-old cousin. I can't get over it. I just cannot get over this case. I can't. When I first saw it on Lamont at Large, I'm like, I've not heard of this. So I had to talk about it, and I wanted to fit this in because I knew these weren't very long cases, and I wanted to talk about them. So genetic genealogy, DNA has really gotten advanced, and I'm so happy that they're using it and people are funding it. You know, if I haven't heard of very many that's happening. Well, I don't know if I have done any actual genetic genealogy DNA cases in this area locally. But cases go cold because back then it was harder to find, to catch people. Very harder to find them. So this is your episode. What am I up to? 116, 117. I cannot believe I'm up to that many episodes. This is so awesome. So I've been at this for about almost 2 years. It won't be 2 years till the end of August. So it's almost 2 years that I've had this podcast. And I am so happy I've been consistent for this with the things that have been going on. And I'm just very happy to be consistent with this podcast. I am glad that I don't have ads. And if I do have ads, I would probably just talk about new trailers. Other podcasts, or have their trailer on, because I have done that before. And I really like swapping trailers with other podcasts. I think that's fun to do. I still have been... I found one called Our True Crime Podcast. I'm pretty sure that's the title. I just found it. And I like them. It's the one episode I need to go back and listen to it again because I just found it, and I like that they get right to the crime, and I really like that. So I do like some chatter and banter at the beginning. Like I like the one I really like to listen to. I just like what they talk about because I can relate to a lot of their stuff, and I think it's so funny. Is the Coffee and Crime Couple. I just normally I don't like a lot of the chatter, but they are so funny and I can relate to a lot of it. And the Gore Report, they don't chatter very much. If you don't like a lot of chattering, they get right down to it after a little while. Depending on what all they talk about at the beginning, you know. So Popcorn and Ketchup just talked about the movie Adventures in Babysitting. Another one of my favorite podcasts. If you like movies, and this is about movies, and I know I probably talked about it before, that they're big name movies that these guys have never watched, had never seen. Maybe one of them has seen the movie before. Lethal Weapon was on there, and I forget, there was a lot of them on there that I was surprised they haven't seen. And I think they're going to do the entire Lethal Weapon franchise. They've done 1 and 2 already, and I thought they did Back to the Future too. So it's like big name movies. Some of them are that they have not seen. But like I said, maybe one of them, the main host guy, I can't think of his name. I'm so sorry. But they are good. It's Popcorn and Ketchup, and they're so funny when they talk about these movies. And of course, I like listening to the episodes where I've seen the movie because they're going to give away the ending, you know. But they just did Adventures in Babysitting, and that is Popcorn and Ketchup. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. Those are my binge-worthy ones right now. And I'm also listening to Love, Marry, Kill, which is another one I like. I'm still listening to the same ones. I just got to get consistent on... I'll listen to one for a while, and then I'll go to another one. Then I'll listen to another, and then I'll go to another one. True Crime Couple is another one of my favorites. They just came out with a couple new ones I got to listen to. So, I love... shouting out different podcasts and different people who are really, really good at what they do. And I love hearing from all different ones and fresh new ones. And I love that. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. The true crime community is wonderful. The podcasts are wonderful. A friend of mine just went to CrimeCon in Nashville, and I'm so jealous. She got to meet John Walsh. She got to meet so many people. She's not back yet from her vacation, and she's going to tell me all about it when she gets back. So I might have to talk about that on here, what went on at CrimeCon and what she got to do. I was so jealous. I wanted to go, but since she had the week off vacation, it was her vacation week, and when we do vacations at work, only one person can have it the 1 week. And but I'm glad she got to go. It's in Denver next year, she said. So Denver next year is CrimeCon. The only way I'd get there is if I flew. Have to go with somebody I knew, of course. I'm not going to go by myself. So, but I don't know how much it is. I'm pretty sure it's expensive, but I think it would be a good time. I don't know yet. I might wait and see where it is in 2026. I got to get there someday. I'm really hoping they have it in Chicago sometime, or right around where I'm at. Missouri, Chicago, somewhere in the Midwest, so I can go to it. But that's all for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful hump day. And Friday, when this comes onto the podcast, have a wonderful weekend. And I hope everybody's having a wonderful June so far. It's been hot. And I've been inside with the air conditioning as much as I can. So I will see you all next time.